listening to another edition of the P4W podcast. I myself am the man of 1,004 holds, your host today, and along with me is Shock. Say hello to the people, Shock.
Hello, mate. How are you doing? Looking forward to reviewing the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. Man in the shadows, as always, is Seiko. You won't obviously hear him, but he is here with us, helping us with all this. So, as Shock did say, this is going to be a rundown of the Royal Rumble, but not just the Royal Rumble. We're going to run down the whole weekend of activities that we did have. So, we did start with NXT TakeOver Phoenix. We'll then run through the pre-show of the Royal Rumble and the Royal Rumble itself. So, Shock, did you watch TakeOver?
Yes, mate. Of course, I did watch. NXT takeovers are always the highlight of their weekends now, so it's always best to check those out as opposed to the main card most of the time.
I completely agree with you. NXT always smash it out of the bag. I was more excited for the main show this time due to the fact that being the Royal Rumble, which is always my favourite pay-per-view of the year, but the NXT shows are always a highlight. So the NXT TakeOver was NXT TakeOver Phoenix this year. Obviously, the same city that it did have the Royal Rumble in. We had a fantastic card. What did you actually think of the card build-up?
I thought the build-up to the show was fantastic. I mean, when you consider how strong the card was without having people like Adam Cole on the show and Velveteen Dream, neither on the main show, but they still had an extremely strong card. I think a lot of the build-up in going into this was DIY focused. As the show proved to be as well, but moving forward, as a whole, it was a really good run up to the show.
Mm-hmm. So we had 5 matches on the card. Obviously, not always a massive card from NXT, but normally just stacked to the brim with talent and with amazing storylines. There was only one match on the card that to me was a bit flat. It's the ongoing rivalry between Matt Riddle and Cassius Ohno. Sort of a filler match, to be honest, but what did you think of that one?
I completely agree, to be honest. I think they really killed the rivalry the second they started it, which was when when he came out of the last takeover and got knocked out in 30 seconds. And since then they've tried to make a big deal of the rivalry, but I think that they really started off on the wrong foot. This probably was the best match of the series they've had, but I just didn't care for it. I'm kind of already ready for Matt Riddle to move on to his next challenge.
Yeah, I think you just said it all there, to be honest. So we did have 4 other matches that did kill it. We're going to start with the NXT Tag Team Championships. As all the other admins here know, I am a massive fan of the Undisputed Era, and they were defending the gold against the War Raiders. So what did you think of the Tag Team Classic that was put on here?
It was fantastic, I think. I wouldn't say it was Undisputed Era's best defense, but I do think it was still a fantastic match, because obviously that's not downplaying this match at all, because every single match is high quality. But Roderick Strong backbreakering the War Raiders was definitely a highlight, and the agility of both War Raiders is pretty insane. Yeah.
So obviously Roderick Strong, the messiah of the backbreaker, he near enough can. But he backbreaked Hansen, who was well over 300 pounds, big guy. He still got my backbreaker like it was nothing. One thing I will point out for this: the War Raiders, during their entrance even, they had a whole unit of Viking warriors that came out before them, banging shields, banging spears, and then the War Raiders came out in like full armor. It looked so good. Absolutely amazing entrance. Almost up on par with a WrestleMania style entrance for the War Raiders.
A lot of the NXT guys did seem to treat this as kind of the WrestleMania, because obviously it wasn't a huge venue. Being in Phoenix, and it outsold both Raw and SmackDown that are going to be in the same arena this week, I believe. So it kind of had a big atmosphere, especially considering this is probably the biggest. I don't know if it was the biggest Royal Rumble, but it was certainly one of the biggest Royal Rumble weekends WWE's ever done. Yeah.
So going through this match, obviously the size and the power of War Raiders up against the speed and the technical ability of the Undisputed Era. I feel the styles matched very well because even though War Raiders hit big offensive moves, you still believed that Undisputed Era were going to be able to outpace them and out-wrestle them. The longer the bout was going, you were like, right, the Undisputed Era are going to be able to sort of weather the storm and come out the victors here. War Raiders did end up picking up the victory. It's a very impressive offense, and your new NXT Tag Team Champions are the War Raiders.
Certainly. It definitely, as you said, it was a slow burner.
Yeah.
Sorry, Anne. And but Roderick Strong definitely. I think he kept. I mean, O'Reilly's selling is insane. Like that's got to be one thing that's got to be mentioned. Is Kyle O'Reilly's selling is probably the best in the business. You've got to say.
Yeah.
He just has such flexibility in his body to make everything look devastating from everyone else. I mean, the War Raiders had a bit of a like throwing him around. They both did an overarm suplex from Rowe through O'Reilly into Strong, which was probably one of the best spots of the match. And yeah, it's obviously new tag team champions. The War Raiders had quite a slow build to the tag team titles. I think they didn't when they first came in. They didn't really do a lot for a while. Obviously, they were in the big cage match, War Games. So obviously they were in that, but other than that, they'd never really had title opportunities. It'd be interesting to see where the Undisputed Era go from here, though. You know, do you think it means a call up or still going
I
on?
don't think it'll be a call up yet. I think there'll be a few more matches in this series. I do think Adam Cole is going to be correct. I do think by the end of the year, all 4 male championships, so the North American, the actual NXT Championship, and the Tag Team Championships, I think all 4 will be held by the 4 members of the Undisputed Era. We are going to see like a 2003 Evolution style. I think we are going to see it.
I've got a question for you on that case. Who wins what belt? Like, does it? Do you think the tag team champions remain the same tag team?
Yeah. Tag team remains the same. Fish for the North American, Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. Obviously, we're speculating way into the future there, and the NXT North American title is actually now held by someone completely new. So we got Johnny Gargano challenging the defending champion Ricochet in what was easily the match of the night.
Oh, 100%.
Easily. No question about it. Not saying that any of the other matches were bad, but this just stole the show. So the NXT North American Championship on the line. Johnny TakeOver steps up. What were your impressions on this match?
I mean, again, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It was a great match. It was the match of the night. It's just 2 wrestlers that sell so well and work so hard. You know, Gargano and Ricochet, they're so innovative, and you put them together. And I think I kind of underestimated it when I saw the match. I didn't think it would be as good as it was. You know, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. You know, they threw everything at each other, and Ricochet's obviously got, you know, all of the flips and can avoid anything, can make it look fantastic. But Gargano, you know, definitely showed that he can not only hang with big guys, but he can hang with the high flyers as well. Yeah,
I completely agree. There was actually a sequence in this match where Gargano attempted a move, Ricochet countered it, Gargano countered that, Ricochet countered that, Gargano countered that, and then Ricochet countered that. And Gargano ended up sat on the mat, and Ricochet flipped out of the move and landed on his feet. And it was like, wow, like the crowd, this was about 2 minutes into the match, and the crowd were already chanting, "Fight forever." The crowd were well into it. Both wrestlers were clearly enjoying what they were doing. Ricochet then tried to help Gargano up, asking him, "What Johnny am I going to get?" Obviously, Johnny Gargano recently we've seen has been a bit on the fringe between, he's not really a heel, he's not really a face, he's kind of still a face that will do anything to win at the moment, kind of where he is. Ricochet then helped him up, Johnny Gargano then punched him in the face. So he clearly answered him. You know what Johnny Gargano we were getting, and the match then continued from there. Absolute classic. Gargano tried to put Ricochet away, couldn't quite get it, before then delivering a move onto the exposed concrete floor, putting him back into the ring, doing the slingshot DDT for the win. I thought it was a great sequence to end. What were you thinking of that?
Again, absolutely, yeah. It was a great end to a great match. The counters, as you mentioned in this match, were phenomenal. Like it was literally as soon as you felt like someone was building up, they got there was a counter in there, and all of the counters were completely innovative. It's not something you'd see in any other match. There were two perfect styles that meshed so well together. There was a reverse spike hurricanrana in a ring, followed by the spikes in DDT in the ring, and that was for literally, I think it was the longest 2-point count I've ever heard of seen in my life.
Yeah, it almost got to the point where the referee was slowing down because of you've got to kick out. Come on, right there it is. Longest 2 count I've ever seen in my life, but it kept the match going, which I was very happy for. If they had gone on another 10 minutes, I would have been very, very happy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, like you said about the last match, I think it's the end. I'd like to think this is not the end of a Gargano Ricochet rivalry.
No. So they are already booked to compete in another match against each other that we will talk about at the end of this TakeOver review. So next up, we have the women. Shayna Baszler defending against the undefeated Bianca Belair. Belair, what an absolute tear she's been on at the moment. Easily the best woman in NXT.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the NXT roster really lost a lot of women in 2018 to the main roster, and that obviously kept going when Lacey Evans went up as well. But yeah, these Bianca Belair has really kind of kept that division together. She's kept it interesting when quite a lot of people have gone up. And Baszler's obviously literally torn through the entire division. I mean, I'll be completely honest, I don't find her matches to be that entertaining. But I think, again, the way they've built her as this, every single ending is just her just taking them out, destroying them. It's a really good build for her character. I just find that I find her a bit flat, if it was me.
Yeah, the way I sort of see Baszler is they're building her up to weirdly, the way I think of it is like a boss fight in a video game where Baszler is the big bad, and you're gonna have to take one of your hero wrestlers. You're gonna have to go all the way through the story to eventually beat big bad. I thought that Belair probably had the best shot out of anyone on the roster. I do kind of think it's good in a way that she did lose, because now she doesn't have this undefeated, we don't need another Asuka. I hated Asuka getting that far with her streak, so I do think it's good that they've got rid of that off her, but I do think Belair winning wouldn't have been, I think you could have sold it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I definitely think Belair still chasing the title for a little bit longer is great. It'll obviously be an even bigger moment when she wins it now, because like you said, she was undefeated, and I think based on that, you thought that she had a very good chance of winning, and now that that's kind of gone, it will make it more of a good moment when she actually finally does get to the top.
Yeah. So the thing with the NXT women's division at the moment, I think apart from Bianca Belair, the only other real, even slightly credible challenger is probably Mia Yim. And it's not a massively deep division at the moment. There are other women on the roster, but I don't think anyone that could realistically challenge Shayna Baszler apart from Belair or Yim.
Yeah, I mean, I would go as far to say it's probably the only division where I would say NXT UK has a few better women than obviously Nick and Neil, or I can't remember, Knox, is it? Tegan Knox or something?
Tegan Knox, yeah.
Yeah. She's obviously out now for a while again, but obviously with her in it and the other NXT UK women, I think that's the only area of NXT where the UK guys have it a bit better than the US.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that moves us on to the main event for TakeOver, where we had the champ Tommaso Ciampa defending Goldie against Aleister Black. So the Devil's Envoy even, had come back for his championship after the long mystery of who took out Aleister Black, finding out it was Johnny Gargano, Black then going after Gargano, and now he's got his sights set back on Ciampa. What did you think of the build and then the eventual match that happened here?
So the build's been excellent. I mean, I say it's been excellent. In terms of Aleister Black, he's kind of taken a back seat. It's very much, it was a lot of build was around, DIY both being dastardly heels again, and would they reunite? And then they had the reuniting in the steel cage match. But it wasn't really a reuniting, and so just the over storyline of the entire title match seemed to be more focused towards DIY. But I did enjoy the build. I just kind of it would have been nice to see a little bit more from Aleister Black, because I think that took it a bit away. In normal circumstances, I think you'd say that Black had a really good chance of winning, but I think based on the fact that it really did look like the future is DIY, that you kind of got the feeling that he was pushed to the back a bit and not as credible a challenger.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Obviously, DIY has been the story that's been going on in NXT at the moment. Obviously, Aleister Black, I do feel he could have done a bit more in the build-up. Less on the will they, won't they reunite, and more on the, Black's going to kill you side of the story would have been a bit better. Obviously, Ciampa at the moment is the sort of heel where sort of harkening back to the Seth Rollins authority days, where it's anything to keep the title, anything to keep it. Even the way that he walks down to the ring, clutching it to his chest rather than wearing it or holding it.
He's always on as well. He doesn't turn off for Twitter like the second he finished NXT. He was tweeting, "No, I won't be on the Royal Rumble," and he's just always on, and it's fantastic. And really like you said, his shtick with the title is fantastic at the moment. Ciampa's been the best character for well over a year now in the WWE.
Yeah, and it goes back to the old saying of does the man make the title, or does the title make the man? And Ciampa is definitely making the title.
Yeah,
that title
absolutely.
has never meant so much in a long, long time. I don't think that NXT championship has actually meant that much since Finn Balor was champion.
Yeah, I'd say it did lose its way with a couple of quick changes with Almas and Drew, and it went through a little bit of a spell before it got to Aleister Black, and then eventually getting to Ciampa, and now I don't think I would say I would completely agree with you. When Finn and Samoa Joe had the flurry of matches, which were just absolutely fantastic, and they went through that for the title. That really built it up, and it hasn't. I completely agree. It hasn't meant as much since that time.
Mm-hmm. So during this match, Ciampa with a very, very solid game plan. A lot of people are expecting Johnny Gargano to get involved in this match on Ciampa's behalf. He actually never did. Ciampa came out with a very solid game plan. Aleister Black obviously utilises a lot of kicks, and then obviously that Black Mass spinning heel kick, which can screw the RKO. The Black Mass can come out of nowhere. And Ciampa went after the leg for the entirety of the match. At one point, it did look like Black was going to hit Black Mass, and he actually couldn't hit it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a story match. There wasn't many high spots. It was a lot of build. It was quite slow, but they told a fantastic story. As you said, it was completely working on the leg of Aleister Black, and then they got into a really good sequence at the end. And he tried to hit Black Mass again, and like you said, he couldn't with his leg, and that effectively was what turned the match. Is the simple fact that Ciampa had spent the entire match working on the leg. Yeah.
Now I can't completely remember what Ciampa's finisher is called.
I can't remember now either. It was Project Ciampa, but before he went into he changed it quite recently. That was fairy tale ending.
Fairy tale ending. Thank you, Man in the Shadows. So obviously he hit Fairy Tale Ending once, and then you expected him to go for the cover, and he just looked up, looked straight in the hard camera, smile on his face, shook his head, picked Black up, hit it again, then the 1, 2, 3, which just the looking in the hard camera was just perfect.
Yeah.
Just heelish, like the smile and then no, and then bang once more. Pins Black, makes his way up the ramp, turns around, holding the championship aloft. Out comes Johnny TakeOver with his championship. They look at each other, look at their own championships, both hold them aloft, and you think, that's how the TakeOver ended. Both champions holding the belts aloft. Are DIY reuniting, or is this just an acknowledgement?
Yeah. Again, it was another subtle, you need to follow the story a bit longer kind of nod. Obviously, as you said, they've been teasing it now for nearly probably over a month now on NXT, and now they've just ended the next takeover with them teasing it again. But it was the subtle nods in the match. They both exposed the concrete floor, and then at the end of the match, I did love the shot when they're both there with their titles, because like you got the visual effect of the last time they were stood up there together was when Ciampa turned on him. Yeah. And they were hugging each other after losing the tag team titles, and now they're both single champions. Yeah, and it was just that visual effect of it kind of coming full circle after their year of 2018 against each other.
Yeah, completely agree. So that is what ended NXT TakeOver. Now, just going to quickly touch on. There was a video released on WWE.com of what happened after TakeOver. So you had both champions stood there, and the music for the Velveteen Dream hit. Now, Velveteen Dream was not on the TakeOver show, but was actually pictured sat at ringside. So after both champions are stood there, Velveteen Dream comes onto the stage and starts talking with no microphones involved. Adam Cole then came out, someone else who was not involved in the TakeOver. Aleister Black then came up the ramp from the ring after his match. You've now got 5 men sort of arguing with each other. Out then came Ricochet. A slight brawl involved, bit of shoving. They all go to the back. The video then carries on showing them in the back, still shoving. It's now been announced that during next week's big game, because apparently they can't say the Super Bowl on WWE TV, we're going to have Velveteen Dream, Ricochet, and Aleister Black versus Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, and Adam Cole during halftime of the Super Bowl, because halftime heat is back. So what did you think of that massive announcement? And if you are watching the Super Bowl, will you be turning off to watch halftime heat rather than watching Maroon 5?
I know. I saw the advert. I saw the advert that they used. Do you really want to watch Maroon 5 when you could watch this? And I think it's a really good idea. But obviously, the last time they did it was, I think it was 19. I don't think they did it since the 99 one, where they had the empty arena match between Mankind and The Rock. Obviously, that was 2 years before the inception of the XFL. And there were a lot of rumours that the reason that he's doing it this time is to gauge interest of how many wrestling fans actually watch the NFL. Yeah. So the idea behind it is that if they get a large audience tuning into the match, that there was a lot of people watching the NFL that turned over specifically to see this. Therefore, they will push on with this co-promoting the XFL and the WWE, which I'm for that reason I'm hoping no one watches it, because I'd rather they stick to two separate brands, which was the initial idea. Yeah. But if there's a lot more cross promotion, I don't think I'd like to see that.
No. The thing is, as well, is it's going to be a really good match.
It is, yeah.
But you
wonder as well if they're going to tape it. Is it going to be taped? I guess there might be NXT tapings this week, potentially.
Well, it is going to be on the network.
Where is it? It can't be live. I'm surely it's not going to be live from somewhere just for one match.
No, probably not. So that concludes our NXT wrap-up. We're now going to move on to the pre-show of the Royal Rumble. Now, it was a 2-hour pre-show. For me, in the UK, I started watching the pre-show at 10 o'clock at night, because the actual Royal Rumble started at midnight. So a 2-hour pre-show is just so annoyingly long.
Yeah.
I mean, I sat here for 6.5 hours watching Royal Rumble.
It's the biggest issue with the pre-show being 2 hours is it's 2 hours, but there are 2 matches or there's 3 matches.
Yeah,
so
we got 3.
To watch the matches, you're sat watching them talk for a hell of a long time. Like it's like, under normal circumstances, I don't want to watch pre-shows. Like you should have the option to not watch it but not miss any of the action because you can't. They don't tell you what time each match is going to be on. So you're forced to sit there and watch them ramble through, repeating going through the same matches before the show, just so you can see what happens on the pre-show matches.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think they should format it where the pre-show, if they are going to do a 2-hour pre-show, is like, right, the first hour is going to be catch-up and broadcast about what is happening, and then the second hour should be, right, now this is just going to be matches.
Yeah.
Because if you're up to date with WWE, you're essentially watching 2 hours of everything you've already seen. You've already seen all the build-up to the matches. You've already seen them talk about all the matches. And you're watching 2 hours, basically, of repeats. And then you get a match.
Yeah, that's basically it. And it's just... some of the pundits on WWE, I must say, are quite cringeworthy. I don't like to... I love Jerry the King Lawler. He's obviously the voice of your childhood if you're a wrestling fan, but I don't want to see him talk about wrestling nowadays. Like for 2 hours, it's not that great. But yeah, obviously that's kind of what you have to sit through, and again, if you're in the live audience, it must be even worse potentially because you're sat there for 2 hours and not seeing anything between the matches.
Very true. Very, very true. One thing I will point out, though, that I did quite enjoy about the pre-show was HBK was on the second half of the pre-show and turns up and he's got an NXT UK t-shirt on, an NXT hat on, and I'm just thinking, I'm just waiting for him to turn around and be like, available on WWEshop.com, and it never came.
Yeah.
It never came. I was waiting for the old DX sell it shtick. It's like, missed opportunity or what?
No.
So we're going to move on to the matches now that we did have on the pre-show. So to start with, this one's going to take a little bit of explaining. So Akam from AOP has got a leg injury.
Yeah.
Drake Maverick talked his way into a match where it's going to be Razor teaming with Scott Dawson of the Revival against Rude and Gable. If the team of Razor and Dawson won, both the Revival and AOP at a later date were going to be awarded tag team title shots.
Yeah.
What the hell?
And the match was unfortunately as horrific as it sounds, to be perfectly honest. Gable and Rude don't have any chemistry themselves anyway. And, now you had 4 guys in a tag team match with the Raw tag team titles, not on the line, but, involved in the match, and no one had any chemistry. It was horrific. And with all the rumours of the Revival wanting to leave, it certainly would not help them be any happier.
No. I would have rather have seen this match be Dash and Dawson versus Razor in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Whoever wins gets a tag team title shot.
Or the smarter thing to do would have been, okay, your tag team partner's out, so you can't compete, and have both of the Revival just go, face the tag team champions.
Yeah,
I know they've done that and they've lost, but at least it would have been better than one of each.
Yeah, I think they tried to freshen it up, but went completely wrong. Anyway, Gable and Rude won, obviously. Terrible match. It was the first match on the pre-show. Next up, we had... Now, did it go US or Cruiserweight?
US.
So we had US title match next. Thank you. So we had Rusev defending against Shinsuke Nakamura. Obviously, Lana at ringside. Keep note of that, because that does come important. So, Rusev is US champion. Great win. Won on Christmas Day, I believe.
Yeah.
And It's his first title defense on pay-per-view, and he lost the title.
Yeah, a completely pointless reign. Let's be honest. The match was decent. I don't want to take away from the match. It was a decent little match between two really good wrestlers.
Yeah.
But why did Rusev win the title? I struggle to understand the what they were planning with that going. What was in mind with that? Why was there a 2 week, 2-3 week reign for him just to go back to Nakamura?
Yeah. I mean, I would have had Rusev retain in this match to actually have like a decent reign.
Yeah.
I hope they're not going to do flip-flop with the title, because the US title, to be honest, already means nothing.
Yeah.
They can't really devalue the title anymore. So
they really hurt the title because sorry to interrupt, they really hurt the title because Nakamura is a fantastic wrestler, and he should that title should mean so much more, considering he's held it for about 6 months, I think. I could be completely wrong, around 6 months. And he's been not off the pre-show. I don't know how many times, but I think other than Survivor Series, where it was obviously US versus Intercontinental Champion, he hasn't been on a main card, and that's what's devalued the title, not the champion, because Nakamura is a fantastic wrestler.
I also think he hasn't had the best of opponents, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, Rusev at this point, is anyone really taking Rusev as a serious threat? I mean, when he was undefeated and facing John Cena, he was great, and then he just went downhill.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's the issue they've got with Rusev, is that Rusev is fantastic, but they don't try and build him up. Like the US title win kind of came out of nowhere after, not building him up at all. He had a pointless couple of matches with Aiden English, which they really blew that feud, with the potential it had. And then he went into winning the US title, and there was no build. Like, I know the crowd are massively behind the Rusev Day, but I know this sounds weird, but I think they're more behind the chant than the guy. Like, it's chanted more before the shows than it is for Rusev's matches, and I think it's just a thing. Like Adam Rose's theme song used to be cheered around like before shows. And then Let's Go Cena sucks chants like hours before Cena's even appeared. It's one of those things where it's like the chant is bigger than the wrestler. Yeah,
I mean the biggest example of that is Fandango.
Yes,
Fandango's theme music got to #1 on iTunes.
Yeah,
like it's ridiculous. So the ending of this match, after a very good match, both superstars utilising various signature moves. Shinsuke tried to remove the top turnbuckle, obviously heelish move, cheating. Lana got up on the ring apron to try and tell the referee and was shouting, Shinsuke's cheating, he's cheating, he's cheating. Rusev then went to attack Shinsuke. As he did so, Shinsuke moved out the way, knocking Lana off the ring apron, injuring her ankle. And Rusev then was hit with a Kinshasa to the back of the head as he was trying to check on Lana. Shinsuke then rolled him up for the 1-2-3. Shinsuke Nakamura, your new United States champion. And important, just remember in the back of your head that Lana was injured during this match.
Yeah. Again, a good match. Just to point out, it was a decent match.
Yeah. A little bit of a screwy ending, but it was obviously a storyline for later on.
Yeah.
So next we go to a match which, in hindsight, I would have put this match on the main card and put the SmackDown Tag Team Championships on the pre-show. Because this match was outstanding.
It was, and it's a real disappointment that it was on the pre-show, because they got their spot on the Greatest Royal Rumble, or the World Cup. The World Cup, they had Buddy Murphy and Ali, I think it was, and it was the match of the card. Like, it was an amazing match, and and I really thought they took their opportunity to have their more matches on the main card, and that's still unfortunately not happening.
Yeah, so just to clarify, because I just realised that neither of us have actually said it, the match we're on about is a Fatal 4-Way Cruiserweight Championship match. The Juggernaut 205 Buddy Murphy defending against Hideo Itami, Kalisto, and Akira Tozawa. Obviously, this match is the 205 Live representation, and again, they're on the pre-show. So the pre-show because it's obviously the pre-show, it's a separate entity. If you don't go on the network to watch the pre-show, you will miss this match.
Yeah.
And it was a barn burner.
It was absolutely fantastic. And it always was going to be. 205 Live kills it every week pretty much. And unfortunately it's after SmackDown, so a lot of people don't watch it or don't keep watching. So they have lower attendances, but 205 Live is really something that anyone should really watch, because it's arguably, along with NXT, the best thing WWE is doing on a weekly basis right now. And every match they put on, they get a pay-per-view. It doesn't matter if it's a pre-show; they will steal the show.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I was really worried about Buddy Murphy after the split of Blake and Murphy and Alexa Bliss obviously going up to the main roster. They split the tag team out. Buddy Murphy was doing a bit of solo work on NXT, but has really, really found his niche as the juggernaut of 205.
Absolutely. I think it was clear to see that Triple H saw something in him, because you see where Blake is. Blake's not really doing anything now. He's in the Forgotten Sons, I think.
Yeah, 1/3 of the Forgotten Sons with Gunner, who used to be in
just come back onto TV now. So, I mean, he's been off TV for well over a year. It's got to be nearly 2 years.
No, he was part of the Forgotten Sons. Were part of the questioning of who attacked Aleister Black and then had a match the week after.
Yeah, but like in terms of as an on-screen regular character, he's not really been around for nearly 2 years.
Yeah, since Alexa Bliss went up to the main roster.
Yeah. Which is a crazy long time ago when you think about it. How long ago Alexa Bliss got onto the main roster. But like as you said, Buddy Murphy, Triple H seems to have really seen something in Buddy Murphy, because he was like one of the first people he brought up when he took over 205 Live permanently. And he's really put his faith in him, and Buddy Murphy has not let that down. Every single match has been phenomenal. Him and Mustafa Ali had a fantastic feud that I really think helped Ali get to being on the SmackDown Live roster now. So he's really put himself on the map, as well as everyone he's faced. And again here, just an absolutely fantastic match. I think Hideo Itami deserves a mention as well, because very much a forgotten man during his injuries, and when he came back to NXT, he didn't really matter anymore, to be perfectly honest. He didn't really I think he had a shot at the title, but it was never a serious shot. You never thought he was going to win.
No.
And then he came on 205 Live, and again, he is absolutely killing it on 205 Live.
Yeah. So the other two men in the match, obviously Tozawa and Kalisto, former Cruiserweight champions. Obviously Itami, a very hot commodity now on 205. This match did feel like, especially under Fatal 4-Way rules, that anyone could have actually won it.
Yeah.
Buddy Murphy did retain, which I'm very happy about. The juggernaut keeps on going.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, anyone could have won. You obviously had three former Cruiserweight champions in the match, and the fourth man was Hideo Itami. It'll be really interesting to see where they go from here towards the WrestleMania season with the 205 division. Who is going to be the next challenger to Buddy Murphy?
I would quite like to see them on the Mania main card.
I would as well. I mean, I can't see it happening. With all honesty, especially with the women's tags now coming in, there's just more belts to fill on the main card. So I can't see it, but I definitely think they deserve a place on the card.
Yeah, if anything proved it, it was this match here.
Yeah, so, I still think it was the best match of the night. I mean, it was a really good Royal Rumble, but I think it was easily the best match of the night.
Yeah, great pay-per-view, and obviously the two matches before this were a little bit flatter, and then this really, really picked it up to be, after this match, we were going straight into the Rumble pay-per-view. It was really the perfect thing to, get you excited and be like, right, pay-per-view's about to start. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this, it is great. I'm not sure if you've seen the WWE 24 on last year's WrestleMania, but it was a point that Michael Cole made, which was you've got to have when you've got such a long card, you've got to have a really good match on first. And for me, I know it wasn't the pre-show, but when you think about it, this was the thing that got you hyped up for the Royal Rumble. It was the perfect way to enter the Royal Rumble. Yeah.
And then as we entered the Royal Rumble, obviously they do the introductions, all that, yada, yada, yada. The first person to walk out, the man, Becky Lynch. So we started with the SmackDown Women's Championship. Asuka defending against Becky Lynch. What did you think of it? I know you're not a massive advocate of women's wrestling, but what did you think of this match?
I'm not, but this was the best match on the main card. It really kept you, engaged in the match. And yeah, you're completely right. I'm not a huge advocate of women's wrestling. I not to be sexist, I just don't find it as interesting. But Becky Lynch is female Stone Cold. To be perfectly honest, she's got fire in a bottle, as they used to say about Stone Cold. Yeah. And it looks like they're going to go into potentially a potential women's main event for the first time at WrestleMania, and it's probably never going to be better suited than this year, really. But that and that's because of people like Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair and Ronda. I'd probably go as far to say, you've got three women that are arguably bigger than a lot of the men at the moment. If you would say the top 5 or 6 wrestlers, I would put those 3 in there in terms of notoriety in WWE at the moment.
Completely agree with you. So a lot of us admins were actually watching live and in a group chat with each other, and all of us banked on Becky Lynch to win the Women's Royal Rumble. And we were all saying, if the Women's Royal Rumble was on first, obviously Lynch was not going to win it. And as soon as we seen Becky Lynch come out first, it was like, right, the dream is still on for Becky to be in the Royal Rumble at least.
I think that was right on. I think when that match being first did kind of give it away in my mind, because I think everyone had this feeling that she was going to be in the Royal Rumble, and everyone had this feeling she wasn't going to challenge for the title in this show because she'd be in the Royal Rumble. And then when she won that number 1 contenders match, that was when you had those doubts in your mind. Is she going to be in the Royal Rumble now? And so it raised a lot of doubt going into the which is really good, to be honest, because I think when you had people have been waiting since Survivor Series to see if she would get her hands on Ronda, and then when she lost the title to Asuka last month, that was definitely going to happen, and it wasn't definitely going to happen because she's not going to be in the Royal Rumble. She's facing Asuka, and it was really well booked, to be perfectly honest, the way they booked it.
Completely agree. For once, WWE storytelling was actually spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, how often have you been able to say that these past 10 years?
Yeah.
So WWE, fantastic booking, and not to take away from Asuka and Lynch, but as soon as they came out first, it was like, right, Lynch is going to lose this, and she's going to be in the Rumble.
Yes.
Fantastic match. Absolutely, like, back and forth, back and forth. There was points where it was like, Becky's actually going to win this.
Yeah. Yeah, two of the best females. And it is a real shame that Asuka has really been pushed to the back, even though she is champion. But she's definitely taken a back seat to the Rondas and the Beckys and the Charlottes of the world at the moment, which is a bit of a shame. But again, she showed here, that she definitely belongs to be in that conversation, 100%. And obviously, the finish was phenomenal. We all debated it. Was it smart to have the finish the way it did happen? But I think the modified the finish looked devastating. Like Asuka's
brutal. Looked just for people
crazy.
Listening, the finish of the match was Asuka had her in the Asuka lock. Becky rolled onto her belly to try and obviously get out of it. Asuka then flipped to land on her feet in a bridge, still the Asuka lock on, and Becky near enough tapped immediately as soon as she flipped into that position. It looked brutal. It looked horrible. I would actually really love Asuka to keep doing that version because it just looked awful.
I think I don't know if it will be kept doing. She will keep doing it for the simple fact that I think that's what left the realism as such in Becky tapping out, because Becky tapping out probably a lot of people in the chat we were in were saying, why would you have a tap out like that? It makes it look weak. But if you looked at that submission, that did not look weak. Like, no. I don't care who you are. That anyone would tap out to that. John Cena would tap out to that. Yeah.
So I'm not going to give this person any publicity because I'm not a big fan of them. But a former wrestler tweeted, wrong move having Becky Lynch tap out. She should have passed out. which I completely agree with. I think the attitude that Becky Lynch has at the moment, if she had passed out in that hold, almost like basically harkening back to Stone Cold at WrestleMania 13, where it's like, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of making me tap. I will pass out. I think that was the route
I can see that. Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I do think that the how devastating that hold look kind of took, you know, that concept away as such. I can completely see it, but I also see if she just tapped out to just an Asuka lock, maybe. But if you know what she was in looked way more devastating than a normal finisher.
Yeah, I do agree. But if I had booked it, like Becky would have passed out rather than tapped out. But that's just how it was for me. So we're going to move on now to the Raw edition of the Women's Championship match. Ronda Rousey defending against the boss, Sasha Banks. Now, for me, obviously, apart from the match with Charlotte at Survivor Series, this was the biggest test for Ronda Rousey that she has faced. This is probably the best opponent she's had, bar Charlotte.
I completely agree in terms of ability. I don't think realistically Sasha Banks was ever going to win. To be honest, but I think you're right in terms of could Ronda keep up with a good wrestler in the ring. Sasha Banks was probably right up there with Charlotte.
Yeah, completely agree. Obviously, the same applies here for me with Sasha Banks as it did with the Undisputed Era. Ask any of the admins about myself and Sasha Banks; they know how big of a fan I am. So for me, I always held a little bit of like, hopefully she'll win, but I never really gave Sasha a chance in this match. It's Ronda Rousey; she's obviously going to take the title into Mania, and with the Women's Tag Team Championships coming up at Elimination Chamber, I do still think that Sasha and Bayley are the favourites to take those belts. Yeah. So I thought everything sort of overriding this match. It was kind of a foregone conclusion that Ronda was winning, and this was just sort of like a placeholder to make sure that Ronda was on the pay-per-view, basically.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was there was always this tradition of the Royal Rumble getting unusual people getting title shots. I think Hardcore Holly had a shot at Brock Lesnar in 2003.
2004.
Jeff Hardy's first shot at the belt was 2004. And Jeff Hardy's first shot at the belt with Randy Orton was I'm not sure what year it was, but no one really thought he could win. But that was when they did that test with Jeff Hardy in the main event, and it always seems like that's kind of what the Royal Rumble is, because the main event is the Royal Rumble. So you can almost use it as a testing ground for who can be the next big challenger in terms of actually physically people wanting to see the match.
Obviously, I think it's a lot easier now with the rosters being so stacked that you don't have that with odd people getting shots, because there's a lot more talent on the roster that then you can still make a full Rumble still feel like it has star power, even though you've got like a main event star not in the Rumble. So Sasha Banks obviously wasn't in the Rumble because she had this title shot. I don't think the Rumble then suffered for not having Banks in it.
No, yeah, I completely agree. I think it was a really to be perfectly honest, I know we'll get on to the Women's Rumble. I think it's next, to be honest, but they, from last year where they had a lot of Tori Wilsons of the world in it, they really showed this year how well they've developed the roster. And so I think you're completely right in what you say, that it didn't really lose the match anything from having Sasha not in there.
Yeah. So just to quickly wrap up this one, obviously great match. Both women going for submissions. Ronda eventually did get the win over Sasha Banks. She did pin her though. She did not make Sasha Banks tap out. She did actually hit the Piper's Pit, as she's now calling it, that weird spinning Samoan drop.
Yeah.
I love the new name of the finisher, Piper's Pit, obviously harkening back to her hero, Rowdy Roddy Piper, perfect tribute, and a good win, good solid win, showing that she can actually hang and she can actually wrestle. It was a good match.
It was a good match. As we pointed out earlier, I'm not the biggest advocate of women's wrestling, but it certainly wasn't bad. Let's put it that way. It was a good match, and I think Sasha came out of it looking good. and the homage at the end to the four horsewomen when Ronda was trying to shake her hand, and then she threw up the four sign, which is obviously something that's been teased for years now, which is the four horsewomen of MMA versus the four horsewomen of the WWE. Something I think we all want to see.
I think it's going to happen. We're basically just waiting on Duke and Shafir to get better, and then I think we'll get it.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, so next matchup was, I'm going to go ahead and say the worst match of the night on the actual main card. So it was Shane and The Miz taking on the Bar for SmackDown Tag Team Championships.
It's... why Shane is in a title picture weeks after them coming out and saying they wouldn't give us the same old crap every week is beyond me. It's sad, very, very sad to see. To be perfectly honest, that they're having to go this way, because the SmackDown Tag Team titles, this is the same titles that the Usos and New Day feuded over in fantastic matches. The Bludgeon Brothers, who I do quite like, again, were really good. Champions with really entertaining matches that I think last WrestleMania they had a triple threat tag between all three of those teams. And you had obviously had American Alpha, but you had Gable and Shelton Benjamin in the division. It was a stacked division. It's an absolutely stacked division when you actually look at the teams. The fact that the Good Brothers don't even get a look in that kills me. It kills me. It absolutely kills me that the Good Brothers are not even on that show. They couldn't even get in the Rumble, but they're not even on a show. They're not getting on SmackDown. And now Shane McMahon is our goddamn tag team champion.
Yeah. So as you said, obviously the Good Brothers, for those who don't know, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows. I would have rather have seen those two in this match than Shane and Miz. I hate this. The Miz deserves better. Shane McMahon is just a hypocrite, to be honest, by the way that he came out. It's going to be better. We're going to give you new faces. The Miz and Shane McMahon are your tag team champions. Huh?
Yeah.
What? No, it's not new faces. Put Gallows and Anderson in the title match. Gallows and Anderson versus the Bar. I wouldn't have even minded if the Bar retained over Gallows and Anderson. It would have been a good match. It would have been a great match. And again, two new... Well, they're not even new faces, but they would be new faces at this point because they've been off TV for so bloody long.
Yeah, I don't understand. I can't understand why they're being so misused. They've really not done anything since 2 years ago at WrestleMania when they lost the titles.
Yes, Mania 33, they went in as tag team champions, obviously lost to the returning Hardys, and have done nothing since.
No, literally, you could probably count on one hand how many times they've been on Raw or SmackDown since that day.
Yeah. So we're going to skip quickly on to the next one because talking about Shane McMahon being a tag team champion is almost as bad as talking about Nicholas being a tag team champion.
Also, I just want to touch on, but I know we move on, but touch on the stupidity of the backstory of this match. So your former world champion and WrestleMania main eventer, The Miz, his dad would not respect him until he won a tag team championship with Shane McMahon. Yeah. I can't go into how absurd that is. Yeah. So, I mean, by all means, if you want to say your dad doesn't support you in wrestling, that's fantastic. But if he's going to support you because you won the tag team titles with the boss's son and not winning a main event of WrestleMania against John Cena, then that's beyond me. The logic of that storytelling is just beyond me.
Yeah. Let's just completely forget that The Miz is a multi-time tag team champion, winning tag team championships with John Morrison, The Big Show, and John Cena.
Yeah.
But quickly moving on, because this is just annoying me now. The Women's Royal Rumble was up next. So, the first entry into the Royal Rumble, Lacey Evans.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
If I'm completely honest, I didn't care for her promo. It was a bit of a bland start. I think quite a few of the start of the women's Royal Rumble was quite a bland entrance field. It didn't really kick off the way the men's did later on. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But it didn't kick off that much, and it was a bit stop-start. And I certainly, she was nothing. Let's be honest, she wasn't very much in NXT. So,
no.
It wasn't like oh my God, she's here debuting and from NXT.
Yeah. But then I look back to the last NXT call-up that I had that sort of feel about, and that person is Elias.
Yeah.
Who is now one of the biggest things on TV.
Yeah, obviously that's what they are looking into with people like Lacey and we'll sure touch on a bit, like people like EC3 and Lars Sullivan, who were good on NXT, but they weren't what they are now. What you'd normally expect of an NXT call-up, which seems to always be a main event or a champion of some kind, and they kind of didn't come into that mold. And so I can see what you mean, but Triple H touched on it a few weeks ago in saying that some people like Elias, their niche is on the main market. They're an entertainer over a wrestler, and I guess Lacey Evans is a bit more of an entertainer than a wrestler. Yeah,
completely agree. She's a solid wrestler though. I don't think it helped being in the Rumble for her first match though, because obviously the unpredictability of it, obviously several opponents at once. She started off with Natalya, which is a good person to be against, as a solid veteran, obviously helping Lacey through the first moments of the match. As it started to build up a bit more, though, Lacey botched a few moves and was a little bit sloppy, and her inexperience did show.
Yeah.
But then the ring started to fill up a little bit, few eliminations. Liv Morgan nearly broke Santino's record.
Yeah. I mean, I think that'll definitely be the quickest in the female Rumble, right? I think Liv Morgan's entry. But she does get her Royal Rumble moment later. She has a bit of time in the doing stuff. But yeah, she obviously she was the quickest out, but first elimination I think as well.
First elimination and lasted I think 4 seconds.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was a bit slow going. Number 13 strikes though, and here comes the Queen, Charlotte Flair, on her way to the ring, eliminates quite a few women very quickly. During the early part of the match, we did also have this shock entry of Xia Li, who is the first Chinese woman signed to WWE, competitor in both Mae Young Classics, I believe. She's been on NXT a few times. Good, solid, but still a bit of a rookie. She had a good showing. We then had a small story that's been going on, which did enter into the Rumble as well, with Mandy Rose and Naomi. Mandy already in the ring. Naomi's music hit. Obviously, she went straight for Mandy Rose. We had that going on, but obviously Charlotte was the big story for this Rumble. The biggest person that was announced for the Rumble. Obviously, if you had to put your money on anyone to be winning the Rumble, you were going to put it on Charlotte Flair. She sort of tore through it a little bit. What did you think of Charlotte in the Rumble?
I think you're completely dead on what you say. In terms of what was announced and what we thought who was going to be in the Rumble, there was no other name that really struck out to you as going to win it, other than Charlotte. There are fantastic wrestlers in there, people like Bayley, for example, but they had no build going into this, so you've got to think that Charlotte was the the outright favourite.
Yeah, if you had to put money on who was announced making it all the way, I probably would have put a lot of money on it being Charlotte Flair and Ember Moon in the final two.
Yes, yeah.
Ember Moon obviously entering at number 6. I believe she was the Iron Woman of the match, which is the person who was in the match for the longest. It was either Ember Moon or Natalya, who entered at 2, Ember entered at 6. Both were still around late in the match.
Yeah.
So
I loved the Zelina Vega spot. When she went under the ring and then Hornswoggle came out.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of fun. They unfortunately repeated it in the men's one, which is a bit lost to me afterwards. But I did enjoy the Zelina Vega. They had about a 5-minute spell where the people kept getting thrown out, and then she'd pop her head out under the ring, and it cracked me up. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was quality. So Dana Brooke was actually eliminated, and then there was a shot of Zelina Vega laughing directly at Dana Brooke's face from under the ring. I thought it was just a brilliant spot. And then, as you did say, she has her head out of the ring, and then Hornswoggle pops his head out from under the ring, and then Vega runs, and then Hornswoggle chases her. She did eventually get put back in the ring and eliminated as she was trying to run away from Hornswoggle, and then he chases her all the way at the ramp, which was hilarious. But again, no one had Zelina Vega winning the match, so I thought it was the perfect person to use for the comedy spot.
Yeah,
as it was.
There was that Kathy. Oh, sorry, I can't for the life of me remember her name.
I was just about to go on to this.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
we had another shock entry, another woman from NXT, and it's former American Ninja Warrior Casey Catanzaro.
Yeah.
Who has absolutely stolen Naomi's crown and probably even Kofi Kingston's crown as the king or queen of the Rumble Escape.
Yes.
So she was thrown over the top rope. Her hands hit the floor, and a bit like Kofi did the other year, but with a lot less speed and a lot more control, was walking around on her hands before flipping her legs onto the ring post and then sitting up to grab the ring post, which you don't even want to know how much strength that takes.
Yeah.
And then she got back into the ring. She did at one point also hit her, she's almost patterned it now, where she springboards up onto the ropes using her arms with a massive V with her legs twisting around, hitting a head scissors, which was just spectacular to watch. Yeah, obviously not a massive threat in the Rumble due to the fact that she is absolutely tiny, but always fun to watch.
She's got a bright future, and I think that she was in there to be a highlight reel. As you point out, some fantastic spots. Obviously, nowhere near ready in terms of wrestling ability yet, and training. So a long way to go there, but definitely one for the future in terms of she'll be fantastic to watch when she comes up.
Completely agree with you. Keep your eyes on Casey Catanzaro, one for the future. I would say probably the next big thing to happen during this Rumble. We obviously had other superstars were entering. We had Ruby Riott come in.
Yeah. Joined by the two already eliminated members of the Riott
Squad. So Sarah Logan, Liv Morgan already eliminated at this point.
Yeah.
Ruby Riott comes down to the ring, flanked by the other two, who pull someone out under the ropes. They beat her up on the outside. They throw her back in. Ruby then eliminates them.
Yeah.
I think
that was a nice little spot. I liked that.
Yeah, 3 or 4 people were eliminated that way. I just thought it was great. It was the Rumble is no DQ, so why wouldn't they?
No, yeah, I thought it was a really good thing. I do like that the Riott Squad's still together. I do wish they'd been booked better, but I do like that they are still together. And they kind of at the start they look like a team thrown together, whereas now I think they're quite in sync. They've got a really good rapport with each other. And they've got a really good camaraderie, which people obviously learned around the Brie Bella incident a few weeks back. When the Ruby Riott went a little bit insane on Brie Bella because of what she kicked Liv Morgan in the head. And yes, you can see that general chemistry that they've built up throughout time together. And I just think that they're a really good team, and it was nice to see. I did think they were going to do a Nexus thing, when they all came out, and then they just kept eliminating people in the 40-man Royal Rumble when CM Punk was the leader. But they didn't. They obviously didn't go down that route. They actually had both members eliminated before they came back down with Ruby.
Yeah, I thought it was a great way to go. Very heelish, which they are obviously heels at the moment on Raw. I thought it was brilliant, inventive way of using the Riott Squad as a team rather than doing all 3 were in the Rumble at the same time. We then move on. The next entry after Ruby Riott was Lana, who, as we said, was injured in the pre-show. She sort of hobbled about a quarter of the way down the ramp and then sort of collapsed. Was being assisted by medical officials. It's like, oh my God, Lana's not going to be able to make it. The whole crowd was screaming for Becky Lynch. Everyone wanted Becky Lynch to come out, take Lana's spot, and then the countdown hit. Number 29 was then on their way. It was Nia Jax who attacked Lana on the ramp. Everyone still wanting Becky Lynch, shouting for Becky Lynch. The final entry, Carmella, obviously number 30, as we know, because she won the Mixed Match Challenge. Everyone still wanted Becky Lynch. Massive pop. It doesn't actually matter what was going on in the ring at this point. Massive, massive pop. And the whole crowd and the cameras pan to the entranceway, and Becky Lynch is talking to Fit Finlay, who was obviously out helping with the Lana situation. You hear Becky then saying about, Lana can't go, put me in, let me go, put me in the match. And Finley's like, I can't, and then eventually gives in and goes, go on then. The place erupted, Becky Lynch on her way. You see the look on Charlotte's face, which told a brilliant story.
Yeah.
And the Rumble was on.
I think the way they did that was brilliant because when Lana came out and she was hobbling, and then she was 28, I think, wasn't she? And then they had Nia Jax and 30 Carmella come out, and it was the fact that they didn't do it until after they had happened. So when number 20, like when 28 came out and it was Lana and she was coming down, and everyone was chanting for Becky, but then when number 29 came out, the chanting went down because people were like, oh no, that they've done the next one already. Now it's definitely not going to happen. They would give you that again. It goes back to that really good booking that they've been doing with Becky in this entire show, which was you genuinely you wanted it, you thought it was going to happen, and then they took it away from you, and what you did not think that it was going to happen, and then they were still. For a second, you genuinely thought Lana might be hurt because it was almost like they weren't like doing anything about it. Like it wasn't part of the show almost. Like the match had gone on, the number 29 and 30 had come out. The match was finishing up. So, and then all of a sudden Becky does come out, and like you said, it was an amazing pop, and the Charlotte's reaction really made it as well. That Charlotte does pull a really good mean face, like a really good upset, angry face.
Yeah, she does. I do just want to point out something else that Charlotte done really well in the match as well, is at one point during the match, I think it was during the final moments of the match, obviously you still had Natalya was around, she then got eliminated. The Ember Moon then got eliminated as well. I think the last 5 people in the match were Bayley, who entered at 26, Ruby Riott, who entered at 27, Becky Lynch, who was then 28, Nia, who was 29, Carmella, who was 30, and Charlotte, who was 13. So everyone basically from the early numbers down, apart from Charlotte Flair, was eliminated. It really proved that the Rumble, the draw does matter, which I really enjoyed. Even though Natalya and Ember Moon, who had early numbers, did stick around quite long, it really did put the emphasis back on the draw of the Rumble does matter, because I think that's something that's really lacked in recent years. So what did you actually think of that element of the Rumble coming back to mattering about your draw?
I thought it was really well done. It happened. It kind of got mirrored, as you said, it kind of in the male one as well, because a lot of the big names came out quite early again, and you kind of liked that in a certain way. Like you said, out of the start, when all the numbers were announced, I would have definitely picked Ember Moon if they were going to really push someone that I thought they deserved a push, or Charlotte Flair. And the fact that those two were still there with all of these later numbers, it really made it. Like, I think they did have kind of the biggest women in at the end of the match. Like it wasn't like when some of the male ones you get when you've got the last 6 and it's like 3 or 4 guys that they're given a good push to, but there's no way they're going to win it. Whereas the women, it kind of ended with the biggest women possible.
Yeah, completely agree. We did finally get down to the final 2, and it was Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch. Charlotte Flair did this massive. She turned into her dad, basically, where she'd been beat up so long because she'd been in the match so long, where she did that Ric Flair punch drunk, walking around kind of thing. I was very happy she didn't fall over because it would have taken it too far, but the nod to the Ric Flair like punch drunk thing was quite good. Becky Lynch did eventually outlast Charlotte after eliminating Nia Jax. Becky was outside of the ring. Nia had gone over the top rope courtesy of Charlotte. Becky then pulled her off, eliminating Nia. Nia then attacked Becky Lynch after slightly injuring Becky's knee, which we were all thinking in the chat, like, this looks a bit more serious. Hopefully she hasn't just bloody injured Becky again. Becky then did, against odds, go on to eliminate Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch is now firmly on the road to WrestleMania. What did you think about the way it ended? Did they have the perfect winner?
Yes. absolutely perfect winner. We've obviously gone through the Rousey match already, so it's safe to say that's been what's on everyone's mind since September, October last year, when we thought it was going to happen at Survivor Series. This has been probably the biggest match in the company potentially for WrestleMania. Regardless of who wins the men's and who you're going to face, the biggest match that everyone's been talking about for near on 6 months, or has been Lynch versus Rousey. So it had to happen, and I think in a lot of ways you made to think it wouldn't happen, building up to it. So it was kind of like this. Oh, thank God they listened! Like, thank God.
Yeah, I think you actually put that in the chat as well. Oh my God, WWE are listening to the fans.
Yeah.
So, as you touched on, obviously it was supposed to happen at Survivor Series. We ended up getting Charlotte versus Rousey, which I was under the impression that Charlotte versus Rousey was going to be the WrestleMania match and was going to be the female main event and was going to actually be the final match on the card. Obviously, we got that one early due to the injury of Becky Lynch, so I think they've now switched it and realised actually everybody is so behind Becky Lynch that Becky Lynch could be the main event with Ronda Rousey rather than it being Charlotte, who is obviously heavily depended on by WWE.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Mm-hmm. So now we're going to move on to the 2 world title matches that we had, and then finally we'll be on the men's rumble. So the first of the 2 matches was Daniel Bryan defending the WWE Championship against AJ Styles again. Apparently SmackDown has no other main event challengers.
No. I think I was a bit disappointed. I think not. Obviously, I don't think he had a chance in the end. But I would have liked to seen AJ win the Rumble. To be honest, potentially, and then then he's got a few months away from Bryan, and then potentially they can have another big match at WrestleMania. Because again, they are good matches between the two of them. They're very good wrestlers. But yeah, it's happened more than enough in the last kind of 3 months now.
Yeah, I completely agree. Automatic rematches have been got rid of, but somehow AJ Styles is. I know they've done a few matches of who's going to be the number 1 contender, and then AJ wins, but it's just all right, fair enough. The AJ and Daniel Bryan thing now is getting very old, but I can't see anyone apart from AJ being in the WWE title picture. So unless Daniel Bryan loses the WWE title between now and WrestleMania, I think we're getting this match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think you're quite right. I mean, you look at it was a fatal 4-way or 5-way for the number 1 contendership. Yeah. It was Samoa Joe, Almas, Rey Mysterio, and Mustafa Ali. Yeah. And a lot of people made the call that it might be Mustafa Ali because obviously it's the Royal Rumble, so it wasn't going to be the main event anyway, so it could give a little bit of a shine to him. But the SmackDown's really only credible main eventers are probably, Nakamura, but he's a heel, and he was obviously now the US champion. Daniel Bryan, heel. Samoa Joe, heel. AJ Styles, face. You've got people on the edge, the Rey Mysterios and the Almas, but they're not. Almas again is a heel himself as well. So really, there's only 3 big faces on SmackDown, main event faces.
Yeah, completely agree.
That's under the assumption that
really
Jeff Hardy's never going to get pushed to that level again, because it doesn't look like he is.
What's that, Rey Mysterio?
No, Jeff Hardy, sorry, because he's another obviously big face, but I don't think he's a credible main event or any sort of again, to be honest.
No, I completely agree with you. I think Jeff Hardy is there as more the name than the wrestler kind of thing. I think I'm more using Jeff Hardy. If someone like Almas was beat Jeff Hardy, that's good for Almas because he's beaten a former world champion. I don't think Jeff Hardy will be a world champion again. I think he's there almost as like a roadblock to the top, a bit almost like Rey Mysterio is at the moment as well. even though Rey Mysterio is still a credible person, I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the top. I think he's almost like the underboss that you've got to beat to get to the championship match kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But again, that does take it massively down, and it just does leave AJ. I mean, you'd almost say the only other credible challenger is Mustafa Ali as a face, and that kind of gives you the level of competition at the moment at the top of SmackDown.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree.
And that's taken away nothing from Mustafa Ali.
No, I would almost like to see Kevin Owens come back to SmackDown as a face.
Yeah.
Or even not as like a pure face though, almost like Becky Lynch is, where she is sort of trying to be a heel, but the people love her so much. So if Owens can get himself into that position,
it was like his debut from NXT was like that, wasn't it? Really, because he came up against John Cena, but obviously a lot of people are anti John Cena, but he was heel Kevin Owens, NXT heel Kevin Owens, but everyone just loved it because Kevin Owens was here.
Yeah, so I think we need that Kevin Owens back, and then he could potentially then fill that spot. Kevin Owens versus Daniel Bryan, just give us a break from AJ versus Daniel Bryan. I'd be quite up for that. So Daniel Bryan did end up retaining due to the unlikely assistance of a returning and very tattooed, and now with a first name, Eric Rowan.
Yeah, he found it.
He found his first name and got a load of tattoos.
Yeah.
You're going to have to tune into SmackDown because we have no idea why Eric Rowan was helping Daniel Bryan. Last time
Beard Club is the only thing I can assume.
Hey?
Beard Club is the only thing I can assume.
Yeah. The last time we've seen these two on TV together, the Bludgeon Brothers were beating the living hell out of Daniel Bryan until Kane came back and saved him.
Yeah.
So it's really weird.
I'm a bit disappointed, because it does leave the question what's happening to Luke Harper, who is so much more talented than Rowan. Someone said he was injured. I can't say I've read that myself. I know he got taken off TV because Rowan got injured, and then he appeared in NXT at a house show and stuff. And I don't know where he is now, but I really hope they're not going to just leave Luke Harper to the side. Because he is highly talented, and it seemed like they were taking him off TV to keep the Bludgeon Brothers together, and then it looks like they've potentially split them up anyway. So it's concerning for me to see where this is going to go from a Luke Harper fan perspective.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think our man in the shadows is quickly finding out what's happening with Luke Harper. There we go. The only injury he had is a hand injury in November, so hopefully Luke Harper will be on his way back soon as well.
Yeah.
But the way that this Daniel Bryan Rowan story looks like it's going, I don't know if we could be getting Luke Harper coming back and joining them or doing what.
Yeah, it's very interesting to know why if he isn't injured, why he wasn't there, with them, if he is going to be with them moving forward. I guess we will find out come SmackDown, hopefully, because it was very much Eric Rowan, really. Like, where have you been? Who are you again? Like, he's one of the guys where every time he gets injured, you're kind of waiting just for his release, to be perfectly honest. And he's still there, and now he's inserting himself into the main event feud. Yeah,
I think, to be honest, I think it was me who put it into our chat where he showed up. All I put was why. It was just so random. So we're going to move on now to the Universal title match, which is the most boring match on the card. Brock against Finn. It's going to be a terrible match. Or was it?
No. It was, for me, it was quite, it did, to be honest, it started off very much like a standard Brock Lesnar match. It started off with he was throwing around Finn, and it was going to be another night where it was just 10 minutes of suplexes and F5s before he finally put us all out of our misery. But no, it was, it was good. It was probably the best Brock Lesnar since him versus AJ Styles at Survivor Series 2 years ago, or 18 months ago now. But it was a good match.
Yeah, completely agree. So as soon as the bell rang, Finn ran across, drop kicked Brock, and just took it straight to the Beast. Brock Lesnar then did weather the storm, hit back. Everyone's like, oh, here we go. Finn's flurry was about a minute long, and it was like, there we go. Brock's got the upper hand. Match is going to be over. It spilled to the outside. Finn managed to actually throw Brock into the announce table, and it looked like the corner of the announce table. They say it hit him in the midsection. Obviously, Brock Lesnar has a history with diverticulitis. It looked like it hit him a bit lower than that, due to the fact that Brock got very angry.
Yeah.
I honestly think Finn smashed him groin first into the corner of the announce table, and I'm quite surprised that Brock didn't do what he did to Braun and just punch Finn square in the head.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, that punch, if that punch was delivered to Finn, and this is no offence to Finn, that match would not have got finished. That was a hell of a right hand to Braun's head that he gave. I don't think there are many men that would be able to stand up after that.
No, I completely agree with you. To make it even worse, Finn actually rammed him twice into the corner of the announce table, and then Finn had the upper hand, and Paul Heyman had a look on his face as if like, oh my god, what is happening? The Beast actually looked vulnerable. It was brilliant. Nobody gave Finn a shot in hell, and he made the Beast look vulnerable, and even a few of us admin were like, Finn might actually win this.
Yeah, it was a great match for Finn. Like, even in the effort he put in was phenomenal, and Brock deserves a lot of credit for that as well, because he really let Finn look great. Like, there's no doubt about that. When Brock, I don't know if it's Brock or Paul Heyman, but it's almost like, yeah, I like this guy. You give him a pass. Paul Heyman is very, very complimentary of AJ Styles before their meeting, and it was the best match Brock had put on since his return, and now again Finn Balor, and it's almost like Brock Lesnar arrives at the arena and goes, "Who am I facing?" Finn Balor, and then looks at Paul Heyman and he goes, "I like him. We'll let him go," and then it kind of moves on from there, and that decides whether Brock Lesnar's going to be Brock Lesnar or nice Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. Obviously, this run of Brock Lesnar, we've had not many matches where it looks like Brock cares or even wants to be there. This match, I tell you what, fantastic Brock match. I do agree. I think it's his best match since AJ Styles. And Brock could not hit a German suplex. He couldn't even hit an F5 during the match. It made, Finn hurt the Beast. He really, really hurt the Beast. And Brock did get the victory by eventually locking in a Kimura. Brock had to fall back to his submission background because he couldn't utilize the power game.
Yeah, absolutely. It was Brock's crazy eyes came out. The Undertaker crazy eyes that we saw. There were such good memes for years. Have a new replacement, which is 2019 Brock Lesnar crazy eyes. When he had him in the Kimura, and Brock Lesnar does have some great facial expressions as well. The crazy eyes are brilliant. They look like they're popping out of his head. Yeah. And he proper got that on. And like you said, he went proper old school Kimura lock. How he finished Triple H back when he first arrived back in 2013. Is that long ago?
Yeah, it is.
It's been a while. Yeah,
it was the run up to WrestleMania 29. Obviously, he broke Triple H's arm in the Kimura. He broke Shawn Michaels' arm in the Kimura. I don't think we've actually seen the Kimura that much since. And as you said, 5 years ago, and he had to use it in this match because Finn hurt him that much. He couldn't hit an F5.
Feels really weird to think that Brock Lesnar has now been around for he has been around 5 years. He's been a part-timer now for 5 years.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy. But the important thing here, great showing for Finn Balor. Brock Lesnar then, just to affirm his point after the match, did F5 Finn Balor a few times.
Yes. I'm wondering where that will lead. It does kind of make you wonder if they're going to continue with this with Brock Lesnar and Finn Balor, which would be really interesting if they do. because like I said, Finn put on a hell of an effort, and it was a really good showing. He didn't come out looking any weaker. It still raised a lot of questions, especially with Braun going into the Royal Rumble as well. Why the change was made? I don't think anyone will truly ever know now. It's kind of past, but it is something that I do wonder why it happened in the first place. Although I'm very glad it did, because it was, as we said, Brock Lesnar's best match for a good couple of years.
Yeah, I almost think the reason they did it was, I don't think going into the Rumble, Finn was someone who people were going to put money on. But by switching Braun into the Rumble, it was like, well, Braun could win the Rumble.
Yeah, I guess it made a little bit more of a question over who would win it, because there was a lot of, it was going a lot of one way in terms of the favourites for the Rumble.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, going into the Rumble, I had a look at some bookie odds just to clarify and see how the bookies were having it. And the top three favourites for the men's Royal Rumble was Seth Rollins, heavy favourite, Drew McIntyre, not massively favourite, and then the third favourite was The Rock. I think that says everything.
Yeah. The fact that people vote. This was the scary thing for me as a AEW. Looking forward to AEW and being a New Japan fan, was how highly ranked Kenny Omega was, because for all of the time you can tell yourself it's not going to happen, when a bookies has it up there, you kind of like, at that short odds, you're questioning yourself, you're questioning your own mind if it's going to happen or not.
I think he ended up, I checked just before the men's Rumble happened, and I think the shortest odds he got was something like 18-1.
Yeah, I think building up. I know the night before I went to look on Sky Bet, and he was 7-1. It was I mean, it got to the point where it was a bit like, there are a lot of people that are shorter odds than him that are just as obscure, and you're thinking, so why is he in there that high? And it was thankfully, unfortunately, this is a spoiler for the rest of the Rumble, but thankfully, no Kenny Omega.
So The Rock was 3-1 to return and win it. Kenny Omega was 7-1 to debut and win it.
Yeah.
Andrade was 40-1, confirmed for the Rumble. Rey Mysterio was confirmed for the Rumble. He was 66-1. Jeff Hardy was confirmed for the Rumble. He was 100-1.
Yeah.
So people who were confirmed had worse odds than Kenny Omega and The Rock.
But that in turn is a perfect example of how WWE's booking on all of their talent really doesn't help them, because when you're looking at a Rumble and you're saying Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio are in it, two former world champions, but they're longer odds than The Rock returning and winning it, it does make you think this is how little they've put into their the higher mid card talent, the sub main event talent, to say that they could be credible winners.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So we are now going to move on to actually reviewing the men's Royal Rumble, and we started out number 1, Elias.
Yeah. So, a great number 1, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, fantastic number 1.
You can't really put Elias anywhere else, because he gets to do his shtick.
Yeah, obviously Elias was going to always be number 1 so that he could do his shtick. There was actually a bet on a website that I did see. It was something like 5-4 for Elias to be number 1 or 2. It was, the bookies were basically putting evens on it, that it was going to happen. And we then did get a little bit of a shock, because number 2 was none other than JEFF, JARRETT. Jeff Jarrett came out number 2, the man with the guitar versus the original man with the guitar. Well, unless you don't count the Honky Tonk Man. So we had man with the guitar, and someone in our chat then did come up with, if Honky Tonk Man isn't number 3, everyone in creative needs to be fired.
That was myself. I'm quite proud of that.
That was pretty good. I mean, we had the Battle of the Guitars. Elias then sort of semi-face, but I don't know. He smashed Jeff Jarrett with the guitar and eliminated him very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, not to spoil Raw, but it does look like Elias's face turn lasted about 3 weeks, and he has now fully gone heel again. Which it makes no sense to me. I'm not even sure why they turned him or why they've turned him back. It's lost on me, to be perfectly honest, because I think he was getting quite over quite well as a face as well. So
yeah, I think he sort of naturally became a face because people love him so much.
Yeah.
But that shtick only really works as a heel. I mean,
you do look at the history of the guitar playing people, and it seems a lot easier to abuse people with a guitar than it does to be their friend.
Yeah, completely. I mean, he once had a point in Seattle where he said something, I can't remember what it was, but he then made fun of Seattle having a baseball team. Yeah. And the crowd just went mental for about 10 straight minutes at him.
It was basketball, because it was the issue that Seattle lost their basketball team a good few years ago now, and him and Kevin Owens, wasn't it? And they just got they got nuclear heat for mocking the thing that hurt them the most in Seattle. The fact that the team got taken away from them.
Yeah, I remember watching it on the Kevin Owens 365, and Owens obviously being Canadian, he goes, "I didn't quite get it, but they just booed us."
Yeah, it was nuclear heat. Like, it was great heat. It was like attacking them in the one place that would hurt the most. It was literally the locals version of a your mum joke. It was terrible, but it was really well done. And but back onto the Rumble, is that I loved Jeff Jarrett being there. I mean, I must say, I know he gets a lot of hate on the internet. A lot of people don't rate him and never have done. But I am a Jeff Jarrett fan. I mean, I was an early TNA days fan, and I love Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I like Jeff, and I do think he is a fantastic character. He was always a good heel. I loved his WCW slap nuts thing. No, that was WWF. Up until the Good Housekeeping match, which was terrible. He was a great heel in WCW up until he laid down for Hulk Hogan, which was terrible.
Yeah.
I think that's always going to be Jeff Jarrett's thing in my head. He was great in WWE until that, then it was terrible. He was always good in WCW until that, then it was terrible. He was great in TNA until it went downhill, then he was terrible. That's just Jeff Jarrett's thing in my head. He was great.
I think with TNA, he was running at a loss, and he realised he wasn't a billionaire, so he didn't have the money to just throw at it. So that's when he started giving it more and more to Dixie Carter, and that took him downhill.
Well, that is definitely an issue for a different podcast. So we're going to get back to the Rumble. Yeah. Obviously, the Rumble, a bit slow to start until number 10, Seth Rollins. Obviously, the heavy favourite to win the Rumble. Wasn't expecting him that early.
Yeah.
I think it was brilliant booking to have him come in, and it was like, the heavy favourite this early on. Oh, he might not make it all the way. We then had the pointless edition of No Way Jose.
Do you know what? I know it was pointless, and it was. I know when you think about the names that weren't in it, it was a waste of a thing, but it was a bit funny. Like I did enjoy the fact that he came out doing the conga, got eliminated doing the conga, and then just left doing the conga, and then Drew McIntyre came out and destroyed them all. I can't say I didn't make me smile a bit when it's getting towards 6 a.m. in the morning. Maybe that was just tiredness.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I have actually just completely skipped over something rather important. We did have a shock addition as well to the Royal Rumble as the new NXT North American champion, Johnny Gargano, made his entrance into the Royal Rumble. I was not expecting Johnny Gargano.
No, and we to be fair, we didn't touch on it either during the women's one, but his wife was also in the women's one.
She was. Candice LeRae was in the women's, as was Rhea Ripley. We forgot that as well.
Yeah, some nice surprises. Obviously, we'll link the other one together as well a bit later. But you had Johnny Gargano in as well, which was nice. I think he was never going to win, but it was like Adam Cole last year. It was like they kind of have this like work experience program going on with the Royal Rumble, where that like Johnny Gargano's obviously just won the North American title. He's not coming out of NXT anytime soon, so it wasn't a call up. It was it was different. It was a work experience of showing him.
I don't think work experience is the right word.
No,
but, it's almost a little teaser. Like not everybody who watches the main roster watches NXT every week, so it's almost a teaser of like this guy's on NXT, and if you're watching the Royal Rumble and you're like, whoa, that guy's actually awesome, you might now be more tempted to go watch some NXT.
And he got a long time in there as well, nearly 15 minutes.
Yeah, he was in for quite a while.
Yeah, so he got a good run. It wasn't just a brief in and out like you get a lot with a lot of people. He's in there for over 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So as you did touch on when we were saying about No Way Jose, as he was then conquering back up the entranceway, he was then attacked by the next entry, Drew McIntyre, who destroyed him and half his conga line. Drew McIntyre was quite an early entry as well, so the two favourites were both in it early.
You could even go further and say that 3, because you obviously had Samoa Joe at 8. Now, I wouldn't have said that Samoa Joe was going to win, but when you look at big names in the kind of the main event scene, he was probably the biggest SmackDown name, maybe, and he came out at number 8. So him, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre all before number 20.
Yeah, you did also have Dean Ambrose was in there quite early as well. So you had 4 rather big names in the match very, very quickly. I think from about number 8 to about number 17, those 4 came in, and it's like, whoa, we're not even in number 20 yet. And there's 4 big names already in the ring. I don't think we've had that many times in a Rumble, and it really made the Rumble feel great because it was like big names already in.
Yeah, absolutely. It also made you feel like there's going to be a lot more surprises because when all the big names come out first, there's a lot more open spaces towards the end. And I know we knew about R-Truth beforehand, but I think everyone maybe had a doubt that might happen anyway. A lot of people in our chat spoke about it like, oh no, this person's going to replace him and stuff like that. And it's like, there was always that talk. So, but it did leave a lot more questions around the last 10, which made it really interesting. The fact that you had 4 or 5 of the big names out already.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree with you. Dean Ambrose got eliminated, I would say shockingly early.
Yes, he did get. He was in there for again just under 15 minutes. But it was a bit surprising. Obviously, rumours have come since then that he's given notice and might be leaving the company. And I don't know whether that's it because he does seem to have skidded to a big halt in terms of his career on Raw. Like I don't know where he's going from here. Just God hoping it's not a match with Nia Jax, but it does seem that he's kind of slowing down a bit. Whether that's the company's idea before he leaves, or what thought process is there?
Mm-hmm. Always the third best member of the Shield in my eyes, but I don't know. They definitely dropped the ball with Ambrose somewhere. Yeah. So moving on, we did have another 2 shock entries into this Rumble, where we had the United Kingdom champion Pete Dunne entered, and also the injured Aleister Black. Even though getting injured at TakeOver by Ciampa, he still entered the Rumble and still had a good showing.
Yeah, but Pete Dunne obviously having two members, one in each gender's Rumble match from NXT UK was really good. I know a lot of the roster of NXT UK were invited to go to the Royal Rumble. So I think seeing Pete Dunne in there and seeing Rhea Ripley in there gives you a taste of what's to come for the NXT UK brand. Hopefully that continues next year, and there is always kind of at least one representative in each year. But Pete Dunne's reaction as well, I just want to touch on that, is that he is such a huge name. Even to the main roster fan base, he is a huge name, Pete Dunne. And I think we all quite realise that he is quite under Triple H's wing kind of thing as the NXT UK champion. And as though the length he has it. So he's clearly kind of being groomed for this role, but it really does seem like it's only a matter of time before he explodes on the main roster, which is crazy to think of it for Pete Dunne.
Yeah, completely agree with you. The man has a permanent rocket strapped to his back at the moment. It was almost, it'd be hard to say, but it was almost like a rock-level Attitude Era pop for when Pete Dunne came out. It was that sort of reception, and to think of that is crazy in itself. To think that Pete Dunne in today's era had the same sort of reaction that The Rock had in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely
it's
crazy.
Insane. Yeah.
So then,
and the other one, sorry, as you said, Aleister Black, great showing with Ciampa the night before, and him getting a run. Again, there's questions to be asked what happens with Aleister Black now that him and Ciampa are done. Does he stay on NXT, or is he going to be called up soon? I certainly think he's probably within the next batch of call-ups.
Yeah, I do just want to say, though, we did have the message from Triple H not that long ago that there will no longer be call-ups. NXT is now the third brand. It's not call-ups anymore. You are going to have people switch brand.
Do you think Andrade wishes that happened before he changed it? They made him lose his last name.
Probably. Yeah, I hate that as well. Andrade Cien Almas is now just Andrade, which
despite the fact that the lyrics for his music still say Cien Almas.
Yeah, I hope so. So moving on, then we did then obviously have the entries of Braun Strowman came in, Bobby Lashley came in. Bobby Lashley came in and then went straight out. I think he lasted 14 seconds.
Yeah.
Eliminated by Seth Rollins, which was basically enough then to make Lashley snap to then drag Seth Rollins out of the ring, and he put him through the announce table. I think this was, again, another sort of WWE trying to downplay Seth Rollins, because Rollins was easily the man who was going to win the Rumble. I think putting Braun in downplayed it a little bit. I think the way McIntyre has been booked, obviously he injured John Cena and took Cena out the Rumble. I think that downplayed it a little bit. I think then Lashley smashed him through a table mid-match, obviously downplayed it a lot. You didn't think he was going to be able to win it after that. So I think they did the storytelling was good in trying to minimize the, well, he's obviously going to win. Yeah. I think they did well with that.
I think that it was something they did years and years ago with Stone Cold. Was it Stone Cold or was it Triple H? I think it was Triple H on Stone Cold.
Yeah, when 2001.
Stone Cold, 2001. Triple H, Stone Cold tossed Triple H the title, and then Triple H attacked Steve Austin before he got in the Rumble and was left and bloodied. Yeah. And the entire Rumble match was still going on, so you didn't even think that Stone Cold was going to win it, and it was kind of a throwback to that. Yeah. One thing I did want to quickly touch on was that Shelton Benjamin was in the match and got a good just under 10 minutes in the match. And I love Shelton Benjamin.
Wait, who's Shelton Benjamin? I've completely forgotten who that is.
I know, exactly. But he was in it and he got 9 minutes, just over 9 minutes in the match. And I really, I'm begging someone to make sure that wasn't just because someone was ill or someone wasn't able to make their spot and he was just a substitute. Please tell me that is the start of a Shelton push. Just please. That's all I want to know.
I mean, I would very much like Shelton Benjamin, if this thing is true about NXT being a third brand and people aren't going to be called up, they'll be switching brands. Yeah. I hope Shelton Benjamin is actually someone that goes to NXT.
Oh, he would be fantastic on NXT.
It would be awesome.
He's one of the guys that can do like 20, 30-minute matches, so him on takeovers would just be phenomenal with anyone.
I mean, Shelton Benjamin versus Ricochet, anyone?
Yeah, that's mouth-watering, those kind of matches. Like,
he is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they're just not using him.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it was lovely to see him for 9 minutes and 21 seconds. I've just checked. So he got a good little run as well. Do you know what I mean? He got more than over half the wrestlers in the Rumble at 9 minutes. So it really does make you hope that there's something in a bit more in it.
Yeah. I mean, I've just done some quick maths, and he got 45 times more than Bobby Lashley.
Yeah. Yeah.
45 more times in the Rumble than the current Intercontinental Champion.
I mean, he was in the ring doing quick maths myself, longer than Apollo Crews, Xavier Woods, Bobby Lashley, No Way Jose, and Kofi Kingston put together.
That's impressive.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty. That's quite good.
So then, obviously, we come then to the number 30th entrant, R-Truth. We were speculating on, right, this isn't actually going to happen, is it? R-Truth is not going to be number 30. He's going to get lost or think it's the wrong stipulation or sell his number or, I don't know, be in Disneyland or something. He's going to do something wacky.
I really wanted him to come out with, when Carmella came out, and have them stood at the top of the ramp and Carmella going, no, this is not your Rumble.
Yeah.
Like that, I had that picture in my head of R-Truth rapping to the ring at the female Rumble and then Carmella having to shoo him to the back. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way, but I really wanted to see that.
I was half expecting R-Truth to, like, run down to the ring with a referee with a briefcase that he had somehow found and be like, I'm cashing in. What?
Yeah.
Like, he's already tried to do the Money in the Bank, like, grab the briefcase in the Rumble, so they couldn't have done that again. But no. I really wanted him to, like, try and cash in with, like, I don't know, a random briefcase that wasn't even a Money in the Bank briefcase. It was just, like, a plain silver one that he just found. That there were so many good ideas they could have done. Unfortunately, they didn't go down any of them. But unfortunately, what we got instead...
There's so much R-Truth can do. The guy's is brilliant.
Instead, he got attacked by Nia Jax, and she took his Rumble spot.
Yeah. This is a good time to plug my article, which will be out in 10 minutes' time on passionforwrestling.com, which is about what my thoughts on Nia Jax being in the Royal Rumble. But yes, I will verbalise them as well without swearing. What the actual hell? Like, what's the logic in having a female and male Royal Rumble if you're going to have women in the thing? If it was the other way around, people would have gone like crazy. Like, you know, absolutely crazy. And it was absurd to me. It was absolutely absurd. There was no point to it. There's no logic to it. And I don't really understand what the hell the idea was behind it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I completely back up what you're saying. I mean, my money now, and you heard it here first, I'm putting money on Samoa Joe to enter the Women's Royal Rumble next year and win it. I'm winning something, god damn it.
Yeah. Do you know what? I almost think this was like, is this WWE's way of apologising for James Ellsworth winning the first Money in the Bank women's match? Was that their way of going, look, we're really sorry. There's a female in the males Rumble match now.
But, like, as you said, now that there is a female women's Rumble, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
And let's just remember as well, this is 2019. This is PG era television. Nia Jax then got super kicked by the surprise, I'm not going to be in the Rumble, don't count on me being there, Dolph Ziggler, you liar.
Oh, God. Yeah, that is not a surprise. I'm sorry. He's done it the last 4 years, and Dolph Ziggler just steals. He steals a spot in the Rumble. Yeah. Like, last year, he was number 30 after his return after 2 weeks, after just walking out and dropping the Intercontinental title, and they never actually made sense of that storyline. And again, this year, he's sat in interviews going, "Now I'm going to do my comedy tour. You know, I'm not doing it. I promise you, I definitely won't be there." And then he shows up, and no one was like, "Oh my God, what a surprise!" It was more like, "Jesus, this is number 28."
Yeah. So I just want to say as well, the Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole both didn't have a match at TakeOver, and everyone was like, "Oh, okay, they're going to be in the Rumble then."
Yeah. Neither
were in the Rumble. The debuting EC3, who was supposed to be in the Rumble, wasn't in the Rumble.
Yeah, that beggars questions as to why was EC3 not, like Lars Sullivan, there's obviously stories about why he isn't there, but he was obviously meant to be there. But why was EC3 not there? Like, I can't understand why, you know, they've brought all these NXT guys in for the Rumble and they weren't used.
EC3 was announced as well for the Rumble.
Yeah, he did a promo, didn't he, where he said he was going to be in the Rumble.
Yeah, he was actually on the.
It was wasn't it in the middle of a Revival match?
Yeah, Revival got pissed about that as well.
Yes, so it was what set the Revival off, which was them cutting to interviews during their match.
Yeah, but on the promo as well, like for the Royal Rumble, where they kept having squares change of the people that were in it, EC3 is on that.
Yes.
So he was in all the promo material, but then wasn't actually in the Rumble.
Yeah.
It was weird as hell. I don't get what WWE is doing. They put No Way Jose in the Rumble, who was eliminated in under 10 seconds. They put Bobby Lashley in, who was eliminated in 14 seconds. They put Dolph Ziggler in, who no one cared about.
Yes.
They put Shelton Benjamin in, who, fair enough, great to see Shelton, but is obscure now at the moment.
Yeah, with all due respect, as much as I loved it.
Yeah. Two members of New Day lasted less than 5 minutes each.
Yeah.
New Day did Kofi Kingston got saved again by Xavier Woods walking around with Kofi on his back for a minute.
They nearly botched that. I mean, I did find it quite interesting when they actually got going, but he did nearly fall over. Yeah. Which kind of ruined it a bit.
But yeah, they did all these weird things, and then EC3, the Velveteen Dream, and Adam Cole weren't in. It just sucked, to be honest. The final two, though, the final four.
Sorry, before we get to that, I just thought I'd do a bit of trivia with you. What? Yeah. When was the last time before Royal Rumble that there was any male on female violence?
I'm gonna go intentionally or accidental?
Intentionally.
I was gonna say because Roman Reigns has speared Stephanie twice.
Yes, yeah, but obviously accidentally. The last time there was an intentional violence. Do you want to know? No, 2006, Edge gored Beulah McGillicuddy at One Night Stand was the last time that a male wrestler purposely attacked a female wrestler on TV.
Wow.
Yeah.
13 years. And then Nia Jax got super kicked, 619'd, and RKO'd.
And RKO'd. I think that was probably everyone's favourite RKO for the last 10 years.
Everyone loved the RKO. I think... I almost wanted Randy to be like, this is for Becky Lynch. Bang! Absolutely drop her.
I did like they brought that up in the Women's Rumble as well. Sorry, that they touched on it.
There was a slight spot where Nia was holding Becky Lynch and then shaking #facebreaker at her. And then Becky just booted her in the head or something. Got out of it and just put the hurt on Nia. It was an awesome spot. Yeah. And Nia Jax got rewarded with that by being in the Royal Rumble. Yeah. So then we go on. The final four of the Royal Rumble ended up being Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman, Andrade. I do hope to see him in a... it was actually... So it was Andrade, Braun, Seth, and Dolph Ziggler. Oh, dear Lord. I knew there was a reason I forgot it. Yeah, so, it was that. I completely agree. Anyone could sit there and say we didn't know, but it was because it was that pointless. Like it was that pointless. Dolph Ziggler being in the last four, it was a joke. To be perfectly honest with you, an absolute waste of space. So let's just make that even worse by the fact that Andrade was also eliminated. Dolph made it into the final three. Yes, sorry. So Andrade, though, I'm really happy that they seem really set on pushing him and making him a star. I'm quite expecting to see him, if they do an Elimination Chamber for the men for, obviously, SmackDown to who's going to face Bryan, I would put money on Andrade being in there. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to look at the four biggest times in the Royal Rumble match, which was Seth Rollins at 43 minutes, Mustafa Ali came second at 30 minutes, and Samoa Joe came in at 23 minutes, and Andrade came fourth at 22 minutes. So it does show that and then fifth is Drew McIntyre. So, I mean, you've got a lot of, the young, hungry talent in there when you come across Drew, Andrade, and, Drew Andrade, and Ali and Seth Rollins. I mean, that's the future of the company right there. And all of them were in the longest time in the Royal Rumble. Yeah, completely agree. The only thing I would say downplayed Ali was eliminated by Nia Jax.
Yeah, that wasn't great, but I guess if she had to get, I guess they picked him because he was the smallest guy to get to have the moment. Plus, Mustafa Ali had got his big elimination with eliminating Samoa Joe, so that he eliminated Samoa Joe and Nakamura. So he'd got a good run there. I think he had another one. He got 3. Sorry,
he's also someone who WWE seem quite keen on at the moment, and it's nice to see SmackDown, as always, is actually developing stars rather than relying on the same people.
Yeah, I think we touched on it a little bit earlier when we were talking about potential matches for the WrestleMania, and I think with all the young talent that SmackDown's got, it will make sense for them to have what seems to be the yearly multi-man ladder match or multi-man match for their US title. You've got Mustafa Ali, Andrade, Samoa Joe. That's 4 big talents. You've got Jeff Hardy, Rey Mysterio. So you've got a lot of talent that's at that not quite main event level of SmackDown, but they've got a lot of upper mid card good match talent.
I mean, take everybody you said, chuck in Nakamura and Rusev, and you've got yourself a 7-man US ladder match.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind that you've got Andrade, who can wrestle Lucha, so we'll have some cool spots. Rey Mysterio, who is a Lucha high flyer. Jeff Hardy with a ladder. We know what happens there. Mustafa Ali, obviously being a former cruiserweight. I mean, that's going to be some crazy, crazy cool spots with a ladder.
Yeah, and I hope they did go down that route. I can see it. I can't see those men. I don't think they're low enough to be on the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I think they're all too big for that. If that makes sense. They're not quite main event, but they're too big to be just Andre the Giant Battle Royal competent.
Yeah, they're definitely not filler people, are they?
No.
I mean, they need all of those people. I could probably see out of any of those, probably Jeff Hardy being in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. But hopefully they add
throw another name in. I would love it to be an 8-man and throw Shelton Benjamin in there just for.
I mean, he's currently on Raw.
Oh, is he? Is he? See, that is how. Oh, did he? I thought him and Gable got split. Did he, or did he then get transferred afterwards?
No, they did get split, but then they both got transferred.
Oh, okay. That is news to me. I thought Shelton Benjamin was on SmackDown. That just proves how little TV time he's had.
No, he has actually been on Raw. He did do a promo on Raw saying that he's sick of being a tag team wrestler and that he's
that was himself. Christmas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Christmas episode, he had just a random interview in the middle of the Christmas one saying he was sick of it. I'm thankful for it, and I went, yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, but as you said, that's how little they used him that you didn't even know he was on a different brand.
No.
So then we come down, Andrade gets eliminated, Dolph Ziggler gets eliminated, we've now got Braun Strowman against Seth Rollins, the final 2, David versus Goliath. Rollins has been beat up entering at number 10 and been put through a table, and he's now fighting Braun Strowman. It looks all like Braun Strowman is going to win the match, and then finally a stomp on the apron, Braun falls down, Seth Rollins wins the Rumble.
Yeah, I think an obvious one in the end of the day, but the right choice as well. I think Seth's been built up really well over the last year, the last 2 years really, from going from being Triple H. And then he wasn't getting the biggest reactions, but he's worked his arse off, you got to say, for the last 18 months. And, deserved Royal Rumble winner, I think probably the obvious choice at the end of the day in terms of someone that's not only at a main event level, but also is performing at a main event level, which is where I think the difference comes between him and someone like Braun Strowman.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think Seth winning as well, he could realistically challenge either champion. I don't think if Braun had won, he's challenging Lesnar, there's no doubt.
And I think that match has been played out, to be perfectly honest. It's been really played out. And I don't get me wrong, it might happen down the road, but I don't think it's a WrestleMania match anymore. If I'm completely honest, I don't think Braun versus Brock is a main event level WrestleMania match.
No, I completely agree with you. So, I think Brock needs someone like a Finn, like an AJ, like a Seth Rollins to actually get a great match out of him.
Yeah, a hard worker, absolutely.
All you got to do is look back to, I think Roman had a good match out of him last year, but the year before against Goldberg, obviously, there's never going to be a good match with Goldberg being the age he is, but it was just terrible anyway.
It was basically what you'd expect of a 2019 Brock Lesnar versus any year Goldberg match, to be honest, because wasn't it just F5 spear, F5 spear, F5 spear? Like they literally just showed exactly what everyone said about them for both of them for their entire careers, or not for Brock's entire career, but his latter career, which is they just got two moves. It was just 8 minutes of the same two moves going on over and over again.
Yeah. So I do think Seth is the right choice to win the Rumble.
Yes.
For once, like WWE have actually booked things well. Both of the Royal Rumble winners coming into this event were red hot, both of them, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, and you do now have two WrestleMania storylines going forward, which people are invested in.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's the two. Like they said, we said earlier, the one biggest match that everyone's wanted for months now has been Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch, and that's happening. And then you've got that Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins, which is the other biggest match that could potentially happen for the WWE. I don't think there are two bigger matches, and they're both confirmed now for Mania. So that's 4 months, 3 months, 3.5 months that you've got to build now to the two biggest matches on the card.
Yeah, I'd say it's more just over 2, but yeah, we're really definitely getting there. So the big question, I'm going to put you right on the spot here, Shock.
Yeah.
What was better, the Royal Rumble or TakeOver?
Oh, see, that is a hard one. Any other time, I would tell you that TakeOver has never been beaten by a WWE pay-per-view. Like, I don't think in the history of takeovers. But this one is close because TakeOver was great, but I do love the Royal Rumble, and I think both Royal Rumble matches were really enjoyable. You got a great Becky Asuka match. If you throw in the pre-show, there was a fantastic Cruiserweight match. I'm going to say the Royal Rumble. I'm just going to pick the Royal Rumble.
I agree with you. I think both Rumble matches were really good. That was obviously a lot better women's match this year than it was last year. You had actual NXT call-ups rather than relying on legends. There was no legends in the women's Royal Rumble at all.
No, I was going to touch on that, which I thought was fantastic. Which was
I thought it was brilliant. They showcased the future rather than the past, which is what they should be doing.
It showed how in 1 year the depth of the female division has completely changed. Last year, you got to say around 1/3 of the match was divas, old divas.
Yeah.
And this year there was no one outside of NXT or WWE.
We had one.
Who was the one?
We had Maria Kanellis.
Does she count as a diva? Because she's still current, technically.
She is current, but I would still class her as like an old diva.
Yeah.
I mean,
there was still their wasted spots, like Alicia Fox having a spot.
Yeah.
I absolutely can't stand Alicia Fox. I don't understand how she's employed. But I think it was a fantastic women's Royal Rumble in terms of showing the depth and talent that the female roster is becoming.
Yeah. I think NXT TakeOver was very, very close. If you had substituted Riddle versus Ono for Dream versus Cole, NXT would have won it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the strength of the two Rumble matches helped the main show because that's a large portion of the card.
Yeah.
And they really showcased what they can the Royal Rumble should be. Nice surprises, some great spots. They were really well done. The male Rumble especially started off really entertaining. Like the first 10 entrants, they really put on a bit of a show. Like the Jeff Jarrett, for people like ourselves that watched it at 5:30 a.m. In the UK, the Jarrett Elias stuff really kind of woke you up where if you were kind of being pushed perks down a bit, it was really entertaining. And I think they were done really well done. I think that the NXT Takeover show was probably better for them. If you take away the Rumble matches and you put the 5 best matches of the Royal Rumble versus the Takeover wins, but the 2 Rumbles were that strong this year that it worked pretty well.
Yeah. I will say I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that the women laid the bar or set the bar, and I don't think the men beat it. With both title matches and the Rumble, the women were better on this show than the men.
I'll give you the title matches. I won't give you the Rumble. I found the women's one was a lot slower build. I did think it showed the depth, but I think there were some nice surprises in the males one. I felt, just to go through the list, we've got Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, Shelton Benjamin. For me, was a nice surprise. Aleister Black,
Nia Jax.
No. Jeff Jarrett, Mustafa Ali getting, and people getting the time that they did. I found it a lot more. There was a lot more nice surprises. I think, as well as the women one did to show you the depth, you also saw people like Alicia Fox getting 6 minutes of airtime they should never get in their life.
Yeah. So I want you now, just as we're wrapping up this, I want you to pick someone who, without saying obviously Becky Lynch or Seth Rollins, who are obviously going to come off this event looking strong. I want you to give me someone who came away from this event not necessarily a champion, probably someone that lost, who looks good and looks promising going forward.
I think what you're talking about, I was thinking about it, but I'm torn between 2. I think Finn Balor deserves a mention because he lost the Universal title match, but I think everyone expected it to be a lot worse than it was. Yeah. So he came off of it no worse than he did. But I'm going to give it to 30-minute man in the Rumble, which is Mustafa Ali. I love the way that SmackDown have been pushing him since he came up from 205. I think that showing that someone can come from 205 and fit right into the upper mid card of the just below the main event, and sometimes main eventing the SmackDown shows. Mustafa
Ali. I do agree with you. I think obviously Mustafa Ali a few weeks back in a tag team match pinned the WWE champion. I was watching that and my jaw nearly hit the floor. Whoa! I mean, not since the days of Rey Mysterio in his early run have you had cruiserweights legitimately challenging.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is wrong. Someone like Cedric Alexander, for example, could easily be putting on good matches with AJ Styles. I just don't get why they don't give him the opportunity. But if I pose that same question to myself, who came out of this event looking strong? Obviously, Finn Balor, again, honourable mention. But to me, the 2 people that I would say is Andrade for the men, who looked really good. Final 4 of the Rumble, that's a good spot to be in. And Ember Moon for the women. Ember Moon, great showing in the Rumble. It was revealed that she was slightly injured, carrying an elbow injury, I believe.
Yes, I think we've read that now she could be out a while, which would be a massive shame to miss the
huge shock, massive blow. But Ember Moon had an amazing showing in the Rumble, and I do hope, obviously, that what she's saying isn't as bad as what it is, and she's not out for that long, because I do think Ember Moon is someone that could be a serious threat in the women's division.
Yeah, I think you're quite right. I think she should be the next big thing, really, in terms of women getting an opportunity. It would have been really fantastic if she'd been on SmackDown, for example, for her to face Asuka now that the Raw title is taken. It would have been really good to see maybe an Ember Moon, Charlotte Flair, Asuka triple threat. Something that she doesn't have to win, but it pushes her into the main event scene. Yeah. I think she's definitely on the cusp of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Becky Lynch is obviously moving to Raw to face Ronda Rousey, so I do hope in the superstar shake-up after Mania that we're obviously going to get that Ember Moon is someone that does then move across to fill the void that Becky Lynch has left.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up here, Shark. It's been brilliant talking with you. thank you everyone for listening to this. Thank you to our man in the shadows, Seiko. Thank you very much. And obviously that was our wrap-up then for NXT TakeOver Phoenix, the Royal Rumble pre-show, and the Royal Rumble itself. A great weekend of wrestling, and I'm really looking forward to what's going on since. I have already watched Raw from last night, and let me tell you, it was pants compared to the Rumble.
Yes,
it was a terrible Raw after the Rumble.
Yeah, it was. It scares me what's going to happen moving forward with certain storylines. I think I touched on it with Nia Jax pushing Dean Ambrose and Raw. I just, please God, don't let her be in a feud with a man.
Really, people need to realise China had good feuds with men.
Yeah.
But China was a completely different animal, and this is not 1999.
No, it's not. And China went in and she openly admitted that she wasn't the best wrestler and let people control her. The issue with Nia Jax is because of her build, she'll be running matches against people like Dean Ambrose, in control, and she just looks so sloppy. So sloppy.
Yeah. I mean, she's injured people now more than once.
Yeah.
In that match the other week against Sasha Banks, where she should have taken that bump off the apron, and she just didn't. Sasha then isn't obviously powerful enough to pull Nia physically to make her do it.
Yeah.
And it just made Sasha look stupid.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not big on Nia at all. But there we go. That was our review of everything that happened this past weekend. I do hope you join us on the next P4W podcast. Obviously, please do go check out our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, and our YouTube, and of course our website, passionforwrestling.com. You can find us across all platforms, Passion for Wrestling. That's a number 4. And I do thank you so much for listening. So, as the man that everybody wanted to debut would say,